everyone! If you're dreaming of traveling and working abroad, no matter how you identify or express your gender, this is for you. I'm Satya, the co-founder of Nomad Junkies. Today, we're going to talk about the experience of a young transgender traveler with the Youth Mobility Visa in the UK. So let's welcome our guest, Rowan. Hi, Rowan. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm really good. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 27 years old, female to male transgender. I've been transitioning now for about 3 years, and I love to travel.
Have you had any experience working and traveling abroad?
Yeah, so I've been abroad now about 4 times, usually volunteering. I did working abroad once.
And where was that?
In the UK.
Oh, wow. And what drove you to choose the UK as a destination?
I chose the UK because depending which country you go, the length of your visa is different. So the UK was 2 years. Some places like Australia are like 1 year. So I wanted like the maximum amount of time. And the UK was like a 7-hour flight opposed to like a day going to like somewhere like Australia. So it was a little closer. So it was easier that way too.
Yeah, it was an easier choice. For those of you that just tuned in and don't know what we're talking about, Rowan did a Youth Mobility Visa or Working Holiday Visa, as it's known for other countries. And I will put a link in the comment for International Experience Canada to tell you more about like the details and everything, because they're on top of the UK, there are about 30 countries where, as a Canadian aged 18 to 35, you can go work and travel abroad and have that same kind of experience that Rowan had in the UK. So can you tell me, when you pick your destination, because you mentioned before that you're a female to male transgender, did any of the policies or social acceptance for transgender people affect your decision for that specific country?
Not really, but depending where you're going to choose to go, like I definitely research it, because I personally wouldn't go somewhere where it's not accepted, because, you know, if you need healthcare or something like that, it's going to be a problem. So, but the UK is pretty open.
And how did your family and friends react to you going on this experience of working and traveling abroad?
They were like super supportive with it. I've always been like spontaneous and stuff like that. So when I say I'm just gonna up and go somewhere in a month, like they kind of expect it now at this point, because I'm just very adventurous like that, and I just go for random things all the time.
And how did you plan for this work and travel experience? Do you feel that there are more challenges as a trans person?
Yeah, so I Googled a lot, obviously. And yeah, as a trans person, you have to do more research, of course. You have to more preparation is needed, you know, because you have to bring like medical supplies and like all that stuff. So there are more challenges, but it's definitely doable.
And what do you say those challenges are?
Just making sure you have like enough medical supplies to bring with you, getting enough hormones to take, you know, doctor's letters, all that kind of stuff.
And can you just walk us a little bit through the step-by-step how you prepared for that experience abroad? So you mentioned a lot of research, but can you just walk us a little bit through the step-by-steps for obtaining that visa and making that big move to the UK?
Yeah, so the trans portion of it, you have to get a doctor's letter saying that you can like travel with your medication, because you don't want them to like take it from you at the border. That's like worst case scenario. I've never had it happen. I've never been questioned about it or had to use my letter, but it's good to bring just in case. Yeah, contact like your pharmacy, try and see how much like bulk supplies you can take. And other trans people know that that's very hard to do, because the hormones go out of stock all the time. So that's a challenge. And ordering extra, like, supplies and stuff like that. So you can take it all with you in case you can't find it there as easily.
And what about the bureaucratic part of the obtaining the youth mobility visa? How did that go about?
So you go online and then you apply, fill out the application and everything, and then you have to go to your bank and you have to get proof of funds to prove that if anything goes wrong when you're there, you can support yourself. You pay for the visa during the application, and then you have to pay for your healthcare for the duration that you'll be over there. And then you need to make an appointment to go for your biometrics, which is like your fingerprints and take your picture and all that. And then once you do that, your application is sent away to the UK. And then you just wait and then see if you're approved or not. And you hope you're approved, because if not, you don't get your money back. So you don't want to make no mistakes on the visa when you do it. And then you're good to go once you get it.
And where did you have to go to do the biometrics?
I had to go to Toronto. There's about 4 places in Canada. So you hope you live close to one.
You did mention that you did a lot of research on like both fronts, so the transgender part and also like how to actually work and live in another country. So where did you find all your information? Did you consult some specific websites or resources?
Honestly, Facebook was like the major information source for me. There's a bunch of Facebook groups for like working holiday visas you can join, or like there's trans UK Facebook groups. So, you can ask questions in those groups. You can type in the search bar and everyone that asks a similar question will come up and you read all the comments. So like, that's honestly where I got half the information.
Yeah, and would you say that it's important to connect with the transgender community before going abroad, whether the UK, but before going on this type of experience, would you suggest actually getting in touch and connecting with the community?
It depends on the person. Like me personally, I don't feel the need to, but depending who you are, like you could totally look up like LGBT like spaces there, because like everywhere you go normally there's like some like youth like resource center LGBT like community based things. So I mean, if you wanted to, like, I'm sure you could research and you could find places, send emails off, you know what I mean, and connect before you got there.
And what kind of information specifically were you seeking when you were searching for information on these groups? Like what's the specific information you were looking for?
Mainly wait times. So for the visa and stuff, I wanted to know like the average wait times and stuff, because when you're going as a trans person, you need to get all your supplies and stuff ready and like make sure you have like enough prescription before, like, you need to try and time it all properly. So you want to know wait times. And then on the Facebook groups for the UK trans stuff, I was like looking up questions about doctors and stuff like that, for if I had to change doctors and get a doctor there. Like, I just need to know all the steps and information, so I didn't go there and like be like trying to figure it all out at once. Like, I needed to have an idea of what I was getting into before I got there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're watching this and you have a ton of questions and you need reassurance, don't hesitate. Write them down in the comments, and we're going to take the time, myself, if it's about the working holiday visa or youth mobility visa in general, Rowan, about his experience as a transgender, going through that whole process. And we'll also have someone from International Experience Canada if you have very specific questions. So don't hesitate, write them down in the comment, and we'll make sure to answer every one of them. And so I think there's a question that comes up a lot, and I'm also curious about this. As you apply for the youth mobility visa, is the question about gender identity. So is it something that you had to change, let's say, on your passport before you travel and on your application? Can you just tell us a bit more about that?
So I haven't changed my name legally yet. So on all my legal documents, I still use my old name. Um, but if someone were to have like, they change like their driver's license and not like the passport and stuff, like you definitely need to make sure all your documentation has the same, information, because it's, just make sure it's all the same.
And it's also, you have to time it as well, because if you do need to update your passport, then you have the whole processing time for that as well. And you need some special, I'm guessing, legal documents as well to prove the name change and the gender identity on the passport. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, and like on top of that, so if you choose to put like X gender on your passport, it could cause problems depending which countries you visit, because a lot of countries don't, accept that. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because they present it as an option, but a lot of people don't know that when you travel with that on your passport, it could become difficult. So
okay, it can actually complicate things more.
Yeah. So it's better to have like the male or the female, just for ease of, traveling.
And do you find that for yourself, your experience personally, still having your old identity, your old name on all of your legal document and your passport has affected your application or how you traveled?
No, honestly, everything's been fine for me. And on like, not like legal documentation applications, but like the application for like organizations sometimes that I go through for the traveling, I'll have my legal name, and then I'll just put Rowan in brackets, that it's out there, and people can look and be like, oh, like there's a preferred name type of thing. So that's what I personally do.
Let's talk about your experience moving to the UK for the youth mobility visa. What were some of your first impressions? What are the first things you did when you arrived in the country?
First impressions were it's very gloomy, rainy, very historic, little chaotic, but there's a lot of history, so it's it's cool. First things you do when you're moving there, when you arrive, you'll have to within 10 days you'll have to go to a post office and pick up your residency permit, and then when you have a address that you'll be living, you have to apply for your national insurance number, and then start enjoying yourself after.
And how difficult is it? Because you mentioned you need an address, so this means that you need to know where you're going to be basically before you arrive in order for your national insurance number to be mailed.
Yeah, so it's kind of difficult because you kind of need like your national insurance number to like start getting paid at a job. So you need to have like an address set up. So if you move there by yourself, it's a little more difficult. But there's like International Experience Canada has different partners that you can go through, organizations. So they help you with all that, and they'll help you with your application and all that if you need it. And then they're there to support you for your whole duration of your trip. So I went with Go International. And so they actually find you a job over there with accommodation before you get there. So you'll have all that like set up, so you don't have to like stress. And then as soon as you get there, you can apply right away for your national insurance number, because you'll have the address of the place. And you can't apply for that until you get there. So that's not something you can do ahead. So yeah.
And so why don't you tell us a bit more about the accommodation? So what exactly was the accommodation that you stayed at during your stay?
So I stayed at, it was like a separate staff accommodation building. So it was like you shared the building with like a few other employees. You have like your bedroom. I have my own bedroom. You have like a little kitchen and stuff. Accommodation isn't perfect. It's different every area, but like you do have to remember it's a totally different country. Um, you're not going to have all the comforts that you have at home. Like you may or may not have Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Like the UK, their heating system is different. You know what I mean? So like I was a little chilly when I was over there. Um, you just have to be like open minded, and it's going to be an adjustment for sure.
From the people that you met, because your accommodation was set up with the work that you had, what are some of the resources, would you know, like that someone can check or access in order to find accommodation?
To make it easier on yourself, if you're going to go over without using an organization, I would just try and find a job on Indeed or whatever that supplies accommodation, because there's a lot of jobs like abroad that do that, and then they'll give you like subsidized accommodation, so it's cheaper, or some of them give you food. Like every job is different, so that'll make it a lot easier to move abroad than finding a place on your own.
And so what kind of work did you have?
I did pub work. So there's like different countries are like popular with different things. So like the UK, there's a lot of like pub jobs, or like au pairing and stuff like that. The company I went through, Go International, they have like a pub program, so I joined that. So it's basically only pub work, like kitchen, serving, bartending, stuff like that.
And how would you say, when you first started working, how did you navigate not having your legal name match your current identity? Is this something that caused a bit of stress, or how did you approach that situation?
I'm super open with it. So on my like application with Go International, like I told them and they knew. So when they found me the job, they actually let the employer know, and they also let them know, that I might have to like fly home to get more medication, like so they would help you find a job that was like open with it and okay with it, and like knew your situation. And yeah, like it's super fine. They're super open over there.
Yeah. So just being open with your employer about the situation, this is a good thing to do.
Yeah, because if your name's not changed legally anyways, you're gonna have to come out to them, because for your pay and all the documentation, you're gonna have to have your legal name. So yeah, it's one of those things where like it sucks, but like you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I understand. Can you tell us about the funniest or weirdest situation that happened to you because of being a transgender traveler? And I'm asking this question not to put you on the spot, but more to like diffuse the situation, because I feel like there's so much stress and anxiety, and there's some people that will not travel because of that. So why don't you go ahead and share with us just a funny or strange situation that happened to you?
Yeah, honestly, like the only thing I can really think of, like off the top of my head, is like the bathrooms, because like men's bathrooms don't have a lot of stalls. So, when you go in, like especially at airports and they're busy, you go in and the stall's in use, and you're just like, well, let me walk back out, try again later. You know what I mean? Or like standing there, if you wait, like it's weird, but like it's just you will be put in a lot of like weird situations, but like you just have to laugh it off, because like it's funny, like it's whatever, you know what I mean? But,
yeah, you don't let it stop you. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like stuff's gonna happen all the time, regardless if you're trans or not. So like,
yeah, of course. I guarantee there's some funny or weird situations that happen to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right, so let's talk a little bit about money, because I know that's another very important topic. No matter how you identify, money will always come up. So did you have any saving before you went abroad?
Yeah, so I had a bunch of savings, but you also need to have, you have to show proof of funds. So you have to have a certain amount in your bank account before you're even allowed to go to the UK. So you can like I said before, you have to prove that if anything goes wrong, you can support yourself there. So you really need um, savings anyways. But when I went, I planned to just use the money I made when I was working and not use my savings. I was just going to try and go off of what I made.
Yeah, yeah. The beauty of a working holiday visa, because you can work to then enjoy the life and travel and everything. The medication that you take, is it covered by your provincial healthcare?
No.
All right. So did you have to plan that out in your budget when you were saving some money for this
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, so that would be another thing too. So if you got like, if you were able to get like a year supply, you'd have to pay for it up front to get it, and then if you needed more medical supplies to take with you, you'd have to like pay to get all those and stuff like that. So yeah, that's another factor to consider.
So it's a big chunk
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
important to take into account.
it adds up. Yeah.
And now the fun part. So we've talked about money, work, accommodation, kind of the standard thing. But how about the travel part? Did you get to explore a bit? Where did you travel in the UK, and what were your favorite places?
Yeah, so I actually went to England, Scotland, and Wales. I'd say Scotland was my favorite. Um, the accent's the best. They were like super friendly there. Edinburgh Castle was like magical. I'm also Scottish, so I just felt like I just like fit in there better, I guess.
Felt at home.
Yeah, yeah. So Scotland for sure. Super nice.
And did you stay within the UK, or did you travel to any other countries?
I stayed in the UK just because I was there kind of during like the COVID situation, so it wasn't as easy to just hop on a plane and go. You know what I mean? So,
Do you feel like you've ever encountered transphobia while traveling?
no, I haven't experienced it like in any of my travels.
That's great. Great news for people who are scared. Well, I think no matter how, everyone is different. I mean, I'm a Black traveler, and you, anywhere you go, if you go to China, for instance, if you have red hair, you're going to be different. If you have a lot of tattoos, you're going to be different. If you have black skin, you're going to be different. So, it's like taking that step of opening your mind and just saying like, I'm going to go for it, but also doing your research, like you said, because there are some countries that are not as accepting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what advice would you give to someone from the LGBT community who would like to do the same experience as you as of doing, working holiday visa? So anyone who's scared to take that big step, what advice would you give them?
I would just say, don't let anything hold you back. It is scary, like going into the unknown, because the unknown is scary, but like, don't let nothing hold you back, because like there's like so much to see in the world and experience, and there's so many places you can live and work, volunteer, and thrive. And like, it's 2022, like the world's a lot more accepting now than it once was. So like, just don't let anything hold you back. And I say just go big or go home with anything you want to do. And just be brave all the time. Just be courageous and just like go for what you want.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
And for joining us today, sharing how you as a transgender traveler, you've overcome maybe that fear or that anxiety of stepping outside of your comfort zone to explore a new country, to work and travel abroad. So if you have any questions for Rowan, write them down in the comment below, and we're going to take, I saw a few questions coming in, so we're going to take 2 questions for now that we're going to be able to answer, and the rest of your questions we'll answer later. This one you talked a bit about, but I feel like we can maybe expand a bit on it. So how do you deal with airport security, hostels that have segregated dorms or bathrooms? Because they seem to me to be a main source of fear for trans people traveling. So how do you go about that?
For hostels, I've always just paid a little bit more to have like a private room with a private bathroom. Um, I'm also more of like an introvert in that sense too, so I rather the privacy. Um, and the bathrooms in airports and stuff like that, there's almost always like a family bathroom. So if you're like scared to use like one or the other, like just always go for the family bathroom. It's your best bet. That's what I used to do.
And airport security, because I know in the United States, I know it's not worldwide, they have to press like a pink or blue button based on your physical appearance. And if the scanner detects, let's say, boobs where they're not supposed to be boobs,
Yeah.
or a bulge, a bulge where they're not supposed to be a bulge.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible that would happen. So like before I had top surgery, I'd always set off the alarm, and I honestly haven't set it off since. So I don't know if that is the flat chest plays a part in that. I haven't had bottom surgery though, so I don't know, but I haven't set off the alarm since. Um, so like there is a chance you'll set it off and you'll get searched and all that. But I mean, most airport security workers are um, they're a little more knowledgeable these days. You would like to hope. So I mean, the thing is, you just have to be like, it's hard to be open if you don't want to like open up, but you have to think that you'll never see these people again. So just be honest. Say, hey, I'm trans, blah blah blah, and because I think the more silent you are about it, it becomes more like
Creates more anxiety.
yeah, and it becomes more complicated. Or if they're not well educated on it, which they should be because they're working at an airport. But if they're not, you have to educate people. That's just the thing. Being trans, you're always, you know. That's why I like to be. Yeah, because sharing your knowledge, because knowledge is power, and then going forward, they will know for like the next person that comes like. So I think it's important to be open as a trans person, but not everyone wants to be. So
No, but that's really strong, and more power to you, because as you said, knowledge is power. And if you can be that person that makes it easy for the next person
yeah,
coming their way, then, thank you. That's what we should say.
yeah.
And, based on that discussion, there's someone that's asking, what do you wish someone would have told you before leaving for your experience abroad?
I wish someone would have told me that like it does get lonely sometimes because you're going to like a totally new place, and like you are like most likely going to get overwhelmed because you're by yourself, and like you feel like the only Canadian in the country, or the only like solo traveler, or the only like full English speaking person. So you feel very like alone sometimes, but like it's okay to have like a breakdown because you get overwhelmed. Like I've literally had two of them on my travels within the first few days, because you're just leading up to it and then getting there, like the environment outside your home country, like it's just so different. The people are different, the culture. So like it shakes you up a little bit, but I mean, it's fine to like, hang out in your room and not leave your room for like a full day and just like recuperate,
Yeah,
like
live the emotions.
yeah, like it's okay to do that. So yeah, and like homesickness is another thing. You'll get a little homesick probably because, home life back home, it keeps going on whether you're there or not, and you're all the way over there, and no one can really relate to you and what you're going through back home, even if you try to like, talk about it, unless they've experienced and done what you've done. Um, they can't fully relate, so you're alone in that sense too, because you know so but like it's all part of the experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but it's
yeah.
worth it in the end.
100%. Yeah.
So you would still recommend it to anyone that wishes to do that experience?
Oh, I'll always recommend it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks again, Rowan, for sharing all of that, all of your knowledge, and for helping someone else who might want to go and work and travel abroad, but that feels like they're still a bit scared or don't have all the resources. So if you do decide to travel and work abroad, you'll find all the details in the link below for International Experience Canada for the UK, as well as all the other countries where it's possible to do a working holiday visa. And one last thing, we have tons of videos like this one, and especially now we're going to be covering other really cool destinations like Denmark, Chile, Portugal. So ever you're interested of doing this experience of working and traveling in one of those countries, make sure to watch all our other videos. We'll put a link down in the comment. So go check them out. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks, Joanne, for your story and for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.